Num num. Birdie num num.
And when I have understanding of computers, I shall be the supreme being. God isn't interested in technology. He knows nothing of the potential of the microchip or the silicon revolution. Look how he spends his time. 43 species of parrots. Nipples for men.
Don't do that, Jesus Christ! You're gonna get me killed! Out of here!
Oh, Billy. Ah!
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
Welcome everybody to A Live. Yeah, per the intro, Birdie Num Num. God is certainly not interested in technology because he is technology. He is AI, as we've been finding out. And what about his other manifestations? We will find that out too today. So welcome everybody. My name is Miguel Connor. I am still your Pompatus of Gnosis, your madman across the waters of creation on this Friday, the year of our demiurge 2023, March 3rd. And I'm very excited about this show, a topic that always gets people interested. And our guest always brings unique insights and places that most people have not seen and where angels fear to tread. And that is David Block. David, as always, it's great to have you back on the show.
Great to be here. Thank you, Miguel.
And how are things there in Sweden? Still cold, still dark, or?
Cold and dark, but the sun starts to shine. But madness is rampant in Sweden as everywhere else. So.
Yeah, that's not going to change in this year of our demiurge 2023. So. And with us too, we've got the Moondog. And even this morning I said, God, I wonder what puns he might come up with Azazel and the Watchers.
I don't know. I'm watching, that's for sure. And I hope a lot of other people are watchers out there, but not the bad kind.
Exactly.
That's about all I could say. I'm doing okay. Waiting to watch. Watching to wait.
Well, watcher in Greek is egregory. So that's where we get the term egregore. So that's an interesting insight. But obviously reading Mark Stavish's great book, Egregores, which I highly recommend. Awesome. Well, worry about a little housekeeping later on. Next show, we were very excited to have Carl Abrahamson, who will be discussing his new book, Source Magic. So we'll find the origins, the magical origins of art, culture, and really our society, from the shamanism to magic realism to so much. Carl always brings amazing insights, and you'll get that next week. For those of you in the audience, as always, if you have questions for David later on, please all caps, please question marks. There's no guarantees we'll get to them. We will definitely try, but if you have a super chat, we'll make sure it gets addressed, or if you want to super chat a comment or anything else. And as always, we appreciate your support to keep the lights of the pleroma on. Other than that, yeah, audience already filling up, so it should be a good show. Anything you want to say before we get started, David, or you just want to hit the ground running?
Yeah, I hope I will clarify some misunderstandings, and I hope I will come up with some new things here. That's always my goal when I'm here, and I think I will manage that.
Awesome. Yeah, and it should be said this is going to be a first part of the series. We're going to go on a journey with other archons, if you want to call them, entities, egregory, whatever you want to call them. So get ready for an amazing ride. So by the time spring gets warmed up, hopefully your soul will be warmed up to fight these entities or understand what they're all about. Awesome. Well, then now we'll get the screen share started. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Let's see. Where are you? Where are you, Azazel? Where are you? Okay, there you go. Aha, he is there. All right, David, go ahead and take it away.
Okay. The first part called Azazel, Poison and Redemption. And many people view the Watchers as the bad guys, and that's a little bit misunderstanding. And I think it's very important for us to clear this up, because we will have to face some truth in our age. Everything comes together right now, and yeah, it's a big picture, and I will try to explain it in as cohesive as I can. And in the first part, I will talk about Azazel. And one important fact is that we have very few names of the Watchers. Azazel is one of them for sure. So the others in this series I'm going to mention is we don't know if they are Watchers or not, because we are missing most of the names. So I want to say that straight from the beginning. So I begin with Azazel because we know he is one of the Watchers. Yes. Next. And we have to start in the Garden of Eden. And everybody knows about that story from the old.
Sounds familiar, yes.
And I'm sure you have talked about it in many different aspects of it, and what happened there, and many different ideas. But Azazel said he is the snake in the tree of knowledge, tempting Eve to eat of the forbidden fruit. Now, it sounds like a bad thing. And it sounds like this Garden of Eden is a very good place to be in, so why leave, right? And I have to explain a little bit about this. And people who use method to get more insight or be more spiritual, whatever you want to call it, often end up with a degree of spirituality where they are satisfied. They think they have achieved what they are supposed to achieve, or they declare themselves to be Jesus or reincarnation of Alice Crowley or whatever. And it's a very dangerous state to be in, because if you're a spiritual contempt, you stagnate. You don't strive to get higher or to come closer to the creator, the light, wherever your aim is.
Right.
And this is a state Adam and Eve had ended up in Garden of Eden. They were very close to the creator light. And then you get contempt and nothing happens. We humans need something to strive for, or in struggle and in war, and and when we struggle, we rise up to the challenge. And there were no challenge in the Garden of Eden. It was only light. So the human race has stagnated, and something needed to happen. Azazel tempted Eve to eat the fruit, so a fall could happen. A fall from a high spiritual state, but that had become stagnant. Nothing happened. Then a fall, a shattering of the spiritual world, and a fall into materiality occurred. And that's to say, in an easy way, that now we have to struggle to go back again. But this time we will know how hard it is to come to that spiritual state again, and understand that we are not finished there. We have to climb all the way back. So in Lurian Kabbalah, you say if you start this journey, you should finish it, never stop, just keep on going. And there are much more stories about this, of course. This is one aspect of it. And then we have the Abel and Cain thing. And Abel was the embodiment of a person who was contempt. And in a low way, we all know people like that. They seem to have it too good. They are contempt. Nothing happens. They work, go home. They are satisfied. They don't strive for anything new or higher. Certainly not spirituality. And they are happy, so they say. But nothing happens. Abel was one of those. And Cain was an upgrade from the Watchers. They upgraded him with the spark. And this spark they could ignite in order to want something more, to feel there are something more outside this Garden of Eden. To not be content, but always strive for something more, an inner force. And he killed Abel because Cain thought Abel was useless. Because he was content. And it sounds harsh. And we're talking about, of course, evolution. And evolution is harsh. But this spark was planted in Cain, and the golem god, so they call him, the demiurge, wasn't pleased by Cain, and they knew he wouldn't be pleased, and they abandoned Cain. And of course, this was one of their plans, because now they could see the plant, the spark, to transcend the demiurge creation outside of the Garden of Eden. So it was a plan from the beginning. And that's the story, because for them, the humanity have been in cage or in a trap or in a matrix in Garden of Eden. It wasn't good because we was caught in this paradise prison. And if you want to, a prison for our mind, if you want to call it that. And of course, this forbidden fruit is also the gateway to the tree of knowledge, the cliphotic tree, the dark tree. But it is dark only because it is forgotten knowledge, forgotten memories, potentiality, what we can be. And that is dark, because if you tell a person you can be something more, you don't have to watch TV all day. They don't want to hear that. You have to train, you have to be active, you have to push yourself. That's not fun. So people think, because they're lazy. It's easy to know you're useless and you will die and you have children, and that's all there is to it. And that's not good enough, the Watchers think. We are here to push you to the brink of extinction if you don't turn the spark on and fight the demiurge, the golem god, and take back what's yours. And that state is even higher than the Garden of Eden. That is omnipotence, to become like a god. And Azazel is as a god. And some say they are our old gods or ancient gods before the Anunnaki, before the Olympic gods, the Titans, some will say. And this is their story. And of course, this is when we do a theurgy, when we contact them. And every human, oh no, not everyone, but many can come in contact with them through different techniques. Doesn't mean that we know everything. Sometimes you are lost because they speak in very hard to understand and so on. But I try to put these pieces together with the ancient, with the Anunnaki gods and the Olympic gods, and give you a big picture. I hope I will make it more clear or clearer.
And so instead of the Watchers, we should call them the coaches.
Yeah.
They're trying to work out. Yeah. And I have a question, but maybe, David, if you could move your microphone maybe an inch up or down, or Vance can tell you where to put
it better?
Yeah, just the mouth pops occasionally. Yeah, your voice sounds fine, right, Vance?
Yeah, just above your mouth is good.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
The,
That way we don't
wind.
get.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is the idea of Azazel that you're talking about being the serpent in the garden, the enlightener, and all that. Is that from Isaac Luria, or is that from other occult circles?
That is from Azazel himself.
Oh,
So this is their story. But I will tell you when I speculate, because of course they haven't given us the whole picture. And I will try to connect the pictures together here for you. And I will speculate sometimes, and I will tell you when I speculate wildly, of course.
mm-hmm. And this is from a channeling Azazel?
Yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
cool. Yeah, those angels, either with John D, they need better PR people or a secretary, because they're always very incomplete, or they give us symbols or abstract things. Right?
Yeah, sometimes they do, and sometimes they actually speak in very clear tone.
Right.
This is like to hear a voice inside your head. It's like to shift a radio signal until you get the voice, and then you hear it. But there are many problems, and we humans are limited. We don't understand everything they say. Some of them like to speak in very symbolic terms, and we have to figure out what they mean by it. So it's not that I know everything. I tell you the story, and I try to connect the dots here.
All right.
But and of course, Azazel is also the scapegoat, because we project all our fears and shortcomings towards him instead of transform them. That's the idea here. Don't project your shadow against others, not even a demon, right? You should transform them, work with them from inside out. And that's his message. You can call me the scapegoat if you want, but that will not make you a bigger, that won't make you grow, that won't make you transform. And you will need it. You have to transform if you want to survive what's coming right now. Sorry to say, because the golem god is on the rampage right now.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah, next. Now we will turn towards the Anunnaki. And I will come back to the Watchers. I know everyone wants to talk about the Watchers. But I have to take you for a little ride. And I promise you to come back to the Watchers. And we have to talk about Enuma Elish a little bit and to understand the Anunnaki gods. And the struggle between Tiamat and Marduk. And Marduk was the younger Anunnaki god. And the younger Anunnaki god take over from the older ones, the Trinity, Anu, Enki, and Enlil. And they chose Marduk as their champion against Tiamat, Chaos. And he won the battle and took over as the gods of the gods. And the older gods, the old Anunnaki gods, became more distant from the material world. And here is a very important thing. Marduk is not a god, he's a demigod, half human, half god. And I think when the stars changing, the old Anunnaki god had a hard time being here in material, as a material body. This text states very clearly that these gods were here among us. And you can believe it or not. It can be a myth, or if you want to. But according to the Sumerian text, cuneiforms, they were here among us. But I think when time shifted and the stars shifted, they have had a harder time to be here in material form. Then Enki, I think he came up with a clever idea to mate with a human woman, to have a half god with half DNA from a human. And in that way, he had an easier time to be in material world with us. still. And this is a very important thing. Second, the champion Tiamat chose for her, the dragon, was Kingu. And another name for Kingu is Belial. Mm-hmm. And that is very interesting, for Belial is very active in during the Atlantis days, the Atlantis era. And the Kingu get defeated by Marduk. But, so they say, we have the other. So you can use your blood to get in contact with these forces. Also to say they cannot imprison you. You can always get in contact with these forces. You can always escape. You have this blood boiling, this renegade, this drive to stand up against tyranny and oppression. Of course, in the eyes of the Anunnaki, it's the opposite around. They saved us from chaos. Mm-hmm. But we need these forces, we need this polarity as well. Too much control, too much hierarchy, too much Saturn time, too much laws, strangle us and keep us back. Religion and so on, control system, society. Yeah, so we have blood of Kingu in our veins. And you can say, but it's not stated that Belial is one of the watchers. His name is not among the watchers we have. But it doesn't mean he ain't one, but we don't know. So take that as maybe. Yeah, next slide.
All right, yeah, I just wanted to say, some have said Marduk was history's first dying and rising godman, because in one scene, Tiamat eats him and he escapes, and during the battle they thought, oh no, he's dead, but he came back. So that's where the template came from, like Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when he gets swallowed by the monster. So
yeah,
just thought I'd throw that in there. All right, yeah. Next slide.
And here we continue. I want to show you more clearly what I'm talking about, just to make it clear, because it's going to be quite advanced very soon when we come to the Atlantis time. And here we see the 3 older Anunnaki gods. And if you understand this, you can also understand some of the New Testament and where Jesus come from. Because Anu had 2 sons. One was Enlil and one was Enki. And Enlil's line considered to be farmers. And Enki's line considered to be shepherds. And of course, the Christian Gnostic complained that Jesus was not the demiurge son, or he didn't work for the demiurge. No, he was a shepherd. He was from Enki's line. He was a dragon king. And you have Anu, of course, the main god. But Anu wasn't here with us just in the beginning for a short period of time before he just went away, faded away. But the other 2 gods in the stories in the Sumerian text, they were here among us. Yeah, next. And of course, this is the original Trinity. And here they have the younger Anunnaki gods. And of course, there are much more gods. But when we talk about Anunnaki gods, we used to talk about these ones. And that is more than enough, because these names are very hard for some reason to remember. And not only for me, everyone has a hard time to remember these names. I don't know why. Anyway, from the Enki's line, you have Marduk. And Marduk had a son, Nabu. And Nabu is 1/4 of a god. So even more human DNA and easier for him to be active on the material plane. And this line of Anunnaki, we attribute horned animals, snakes and reptilians to this line. And the Enlil line, we attribute farmer animals, wheat, corn and agriculture. And this Marduk will be very important, and he will be the main Anunnaki god from here on. And as I said, Marduk was a half god, and that is very, very important to remember. Even though he was a half god, he was considered the god among the Anunnaki gods. Even though from the Enlil line you have gods, but a half god was the main god, even though he had half human DNA in him. The demigod became the god over the other gods, the younger Anunnaki gods. Yeah, next. And these gods had many names. So Enki was a god of magic and technology and water, the deep. Other names for him was Ea or Ea, Yahweh, Ptah in Egypt, and Poseidon in the Greek mythology. And remember Poseidon when we started talking about Atlantis. Enlil was god of space and air, and El was one of his names, and Jehovah and Yahweh, the old god and the god in the Old Testament. And many attribute him to the demiurge, and the Christian Gnostic said he is the demiurge. And one more of the younger gods, very important, from the Enlil side, is Ninurta. And Ninurta is of course Saturn, Kronos, Sorvan. So Ninurta is the younger Anunnaki god who was supposed to take over the reign after Enlil, but did not because of Marduk. And a battle between these forces has been very harsh, waged war against each other. And this Marduk, and this is very important now when it comes to Olympic gods, because other names for Marduk is Ra, Amon-Ra, Aten-Ra, Zeus, and Thor, or Thor in Sweden. And this is very strange, because Zeus is not a very nice god, but Marduk is nice if you if you talk about the Babylonian scriptures and the Babylonian Mardukites. Of course, he's the hero, and Thor in the Asa mythology is a very nice dude. So it's very strange here. Now we try to put this together, all this myth, and explain what's happened here. Yeah, next slide. Now we come to Atlantis and the beginning. And this period when was it and when did it end? I think it ended like 12,500 years from now. Maybe. And in the Greek mythology, it is Atlas, Prometheus, and Poseidon who started Atlantis. And this is very interesting, because Atlas was a Titan, Prometheus was a Titan, and maybe a Watcher. And Enki was Poseidon. He was a Titan, but he was an Anunnaki, older Anunnaki god. So he's not really Titan, is he? Because he is something in between here. But in the Greek mythology, he became one of the Titans. But he's really something in between the Titans and the Olympian gods. He is the older Anunnaki gods. So they have made it a little bit easier here, or they try to conceal something. But in the Greek mythology, these three are the one who starts Atlantis. But they are really a little bit different deities. And other gods who are very bound to the Atlantis mythology is Kingu, Belial. And Kingu is a titan fighting against Marduk. And Enki is Marduk's father. So what's going on here? Other gods is, of course, Marduk's Zeus, because some say it was Zeus who caused the flood. But according to others, it was Enlil who caused the flood and drowned Atlantis. So who was it? It seems like they blend Zeus and Enlil together to one identity. Blend them together. So Anunnaki, younger god, is the main god in the Olympian pantheon. But he is not a god, he's a demigod. A demigod is in control over the other gods in Olympian. And I think a way to explain it is because the stars have changed. So it's hard for other gods to be active on our material plane. But Marduk have an easier go in being something in between, to be between the gods and us on the material plane. I think that's the reason why he have the title as the main god in the Olympian pantheon. But there's also a problem here, because if you have half human DNA, you will have the force of materiality and all the temptation that comes with it, like power, money, sex, all of the things we are fighting against, because we want to strive for higher things. And I really think that Marduk become corrupted by this. And I think the demiurge attribute to Zeus may hold some strand of truth. But we also have Enlil, and according to the old text, Sumerian text, it was Enlil who started the flood. But Enki wanted to save his people, his upgraded people, because he had sex with humans and upgraded the human DNA by dragon blood, they say. And I think here you have the answer to the strange, the question from Prometheus, the struggle with Zeus and Prometheus, where Zeus put up Zeus on Prometheus on the mountain and sent his bird to pick his liver, because he wanted to know what Prometheus knew. You can see the future or divination with the liver, so they think in Greece. And what Prometheus knew was that Enki wanted to save his bloodline from the deluge, from the flood.
Right.
And Azazel said that they put Nama in Noah's boat and put the spark within Nama, the spark that could ignite our DNA, so we could rise up again. Because this flood is not just a flood of the earth. It's a divide between us and the stars, or divide between us and the metaphysical. Now the Enlil or the demiurge Zeus want to keep us down in materiality. They wanted to prison us, to divide us from the metaphysical realm. But with this spark, with Nama, we could ignite again and go back to the metaphysical. So Prometheus gave us the fire the spark. And through Nama, we could find the spark again. Save us. And Prometheus knew that Enki would save his bloodline. And Zeus wanted to know what Prometheus knew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, next slide. So what are they talking about? We can travel the star by go within us. We have a light center in our body we can push out, and we can travel the stars and go through gateways. But this gateways is closed. And during sometimes in our history they're closed and we haven't access to them at all. Or it is very hard for us to have access to them. But you can also do it through technology. And I think the pyramids and the ziggurats is part of that technology to travel the stars, to open gateways. And we have 15 fixed stars, and there are more, of course, but there are 15 very important fixed stars. And if we look at them, we see, for example, Aldebaran, and it's also called the Eye of the Bull. You have Pleiades, the Seven Sisters, Antares, the Heart of the Scorpion, Algol, the Eye of the Gorgon, and Sirius, the Mouth of the Great Dog. And some of them we know. Sirius, they talk a lot about Sirius today. And there's a reason for it, because Sirius is the Freemason star. And it's also Enki's star.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and Enki took that star over after an older god called Dagon or Dagon. But it's now Enki's star. So Enki owns a stargate. And Algol is Medusa's star, a titan. And Perseus cut the head of Medusa. And it's to say there are more meanings to it. There are more and more esoteric meaning. It's meaning upon meaning. But it's also to say the stargate is closed. I have decapitated. Yeah, next slide.
A picture of Noah's Ark for those of you listening on a podcast.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay, as long as we describe it.
Yeah, we have a picture of Noah's Ark. And this scene, now I go to Lucifer a little bit, Prometheus. For some reason, that's the watcher or I have easiest to get in contact with. And he liked the Old Testament. He showed me scenes from the Old Testament. And he doesn't speak, he speaks in symbolic terms. He liked to be vague. He liked me to try to figure out what is he saying here. Another thing I want to say about Lucifer is that, and I don't know, now I only talk about my experience, but when I get in contact with him, I feel the brain get divided in two parts, like this, and it's tingling, and it's like putting a diadem, a female regalia, or maybe that's the reason why they say Lucifer is a feminine energy. I don't know. And then you see pictures pour into your head. If you have seen the lawnmower man when he's laying down, you see flashes of sigils, alchemical symbols, flash in front of you, exactly the same. And then you are there. And I was laying on Noah's Ark, and I saw a big seagull head crack open, and a raven came out towards me with a black olive olive and jumped into my face. And in Noah, he let the raven loose, didn't come back, and wait for the dove. Now, there are more to that scene he showed me, but this is what I have understood from others' conversation with the watchers and so on. What Noah did was he tried to push himself towards the light. It was never meant to take ground, because then he is back into materiality. He crash landed in the material world. He failed with his attempt. He should push himself forward into even farther away in the metaphysical space, in the Qliphothic tree, to push himself farther away. But scared, he took ground, or crash landed with his Noah's Ark. And I know that the story is in symbolic terms, and it seems that Noah wanted to strand his boat and so on. It's because of our fears. When you push yourself in the Qliphothic tree, your face is dark, and this madness there. So it's scary. You need to be brave. Say that. But the game is very interesting. That's the message Lucifer told me the first time, is to push yourself deeper into the Qliphothic tree, deeper into the unconscious, deeper into your darkness, and lift it up and transform it so it becomes light. All our potentiality is inside of us, in the black sun inside of us. That is potentiality not realized. What we can be is in there. And if we can visualize it, if we can see it, then we can start to work on it. But we cannot, what we are not conscious about, we cannot do anything about. And this is, of course, done very deliberately to hold us back, to keep this darkness inside us, to say, this is evil, this is dangerous, you should not look inside, you should not push yourself forward, and certainly not on the Qliphothic tree. It's the evil, the most dangerous thing you can do. But that's what you should do. But don't do it if you're mentally unstable. Don't do it if you're a narcissist or a psychopath. But if you do it with the right intention, then you should do it. But do it very slow and with a method. Know when to back off, know when to push forward. And Lucifer thought that I was too slow. So what he said, time to work. Push yourself further away. So he sent me this raven. You should go even deeper down the Qliphothic tree to unlock even more secret stuff. Yeah, next slide. And this gift is the gift of mankind. This is your birthright. To ignite your DNA again that lays dormant. And you do it from within. There are 22 strands of DNA that is shut down, according to Belial, if I remember correctly. And you can ignite them with the Hebrew letters, 22 letters. So this is not like it's easy when we talk about the Jews. You worship the golem demiurge god, and you have the evil. No, the Old Testament is a battleground between different ideas. And I will come to that soon. But the greatest weapon you have is your DNA. Because when you have realized that you can ignite what they call the junk DNA within you with method, then they cannot stop you. And the demiurge, the archons are here to convince you that this is junk DNA and you are only an animal in a cage. Nothing can be further from the truth. And you are going to have to decide this. So this is not just stories. You will come to a point where you have to decide for yourself what you are or what you should be. And these forces will push you to it. Yeah, we have a DNA strain here and the Hebrew, 22 letters for Hebrew. And they are very powerful tools. And you can use them as mandalas as well if you want to. And you can have effects with them. So you don't have to go to the darkness straight away. You can use a little bit softer method to begin with, like tarot or the Hebrew letters, and get used to it. Yeah, next slide. So here we have Sol Invictus Mithra, and I want to hammer a point here, and that is all the symbol have meanings upon meanings upon meanings in it. So if they say, well, it's a symbol for the zodiac who shift time from Taurus to the Ram, that's a very exoteric understanding. If you go deeper, we can see here a dog, a snake, and a scorpion, and Mithra himself killed the bull. I remember when I talk about Medusa, Perseus. And Mithra is the sun, and the dog is Sirius, and the snake is Algol, and the scorpion is Antares. 4 stargates slay a 5th stargate, the bull, Aldebaran. So it's to say they kill off a stargate or close a stargate. 4 stargates open, 1 is down or gets slain. And Enlil is the bull of heaven. So here you have 4 stargates kill Enlil's stargate. Pleiades, Aldebaran is his fixed star. And Aldebaran is behind the neck of the bull. So here you have 4 stargates kill a 5th stargate, Aldebaran. And one more thing very interesting in this Sumerian myth, they are not talking about our sun that much. Our sun should be the most important sun, but they are talking about Jupiter and Saturn, and all of this 3 is gas giants, and all 3 are stargates. 2 are turned off or dead, and 1 is alive, our sun. So our sun is also Stargate, and I think connected to Sirius, the sun behind the sun. And Sirius number is 33, it is Enki's sun, and it's the black sun. And if you open a Stargate in our sun will turn black. And only the outer brim of the sun is shining, the rest is totally black. And you will see small stars within the blackness of the sun. This is like you open a Stargate to another place in our cosmos, or in our Milky Way, or to Sirius. I don't know where you can travel, but be careful. There are many stargates, not only up there, there are also stargates inside our Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, next slide. So, for example, they found this clay tablet, very old one. And it's a fragment of a circular clay tablet with depiction of constellations, planisphere, and it's Neo-Assyrian. And it says Enlil Stargate. The path of Enlil is between Alpha Arietis and the Plough Triangulum. So it's a Stargate map. Very interesting artifact. A couple of dates, 3,300 BC and 13,000 years, and which happens only once every 13,000 years. And that is what this planisphere is all about. Therefore, some stargates are open, but closes, and then it's shut closed for a very long period of time. And I think that is what happened to the old Anunnaki gods. They had a hard time coming here.
Makes sense.
But if you have Marduk, half god, half human, then he can hold him back or try to live in on the material plane among us. Next slide. A very interesting pyramid, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Discovered not so far ago. And they have excavated it. And in one tunnel, they found runes. This is very interesting because the runes are supposed to be just a couple of thousand years old.
Right.
But this was 8,000 years old. I don't remember how they came to that date, so you have to check it out for yourself. I'm sorry. But they managed to read what it said. And the text was, "Gate is closed. We are on standstill.
Wow.
We will have to fight to defend and conquer until we're able to go through the Stargate." So the Stargate is connected to the pyramids or the ziggurats.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and I think it was the Anunnaki gods who built them, and it was Enki's line who built them. And Enki also intermarried with humans, and Enlil didn't like that at all. So they were in war with each other. Remember, Enki was the god of magic and technology. And people doesn't really grasp that, I think. Esoteric and technology goes hand in hand. When the technology becomes metaphysical, then it's magic. Such as UFOs, for example. Yeah, next slide. And we see similar phenomena on the Giza Plateau on the three pyramids. And they are connected to the Orion belt, the free belt in Orion. And the free belt of Orion is pointing towards Sirius, or Enki's star, the dog star. Stargate to Sirius. The sun behind the sun. And the Bosnian pyramid of the sun pointing towards our sun, Helios. So it's a stargate towards Sirius to open up a gate to these forces. And I think there are one more agenda here, and a darker one. Next slide. Because there is a legend, the story goes, or the myth goes, that Anunnaki gods were here to mine gold. I don't believe that for a second.
No.
Sorry to say. It is true that they needed gold for the project as a technology, because gold is very good to conduct electricity. And I think you will find a lot of tunnels beneath our earth connected with the pyramids and other technology, and these tunnels are gold plated to conduct electricity. So you have a nuclear plant device, but the pyramids are there to transport solar energy from one star to another, to mine gold, sun energy, sun gold. And the question has to be asked, and it's only a question: is Saturn a mined sun? And our sun, Helios, does Helios take its source energy from the other side? And if you can turn it on, you can also turn it off. Take energy from it, or give energy to it. Then you can manipulate with the sun. And if this sounds too far-fetched, yes, I agree. What I'm saying is that we have had a type 2 civilization on this planet before, because that's the first thing a type 2 civilization would manage, is to manipulate solar energy or stars as source energy. And I think Tesla was very close. And I think that's the main reason why he had to go.
Yeah, agreed.
And an even darker agenda. And now we come to the Watchers. Because they are talking about turning our DNA and turn it on. 22 strands of DNA they have turned off, we can turn on. But what we can do, going within and transform us from within mentally, others can do with technology. And this is from an internet side, chemistry word. And the headline is "Gold chains give DNA semiconducting powers." And it says, DNA has been given an overhaul with the addition of chains of gold ions that turns this molecule of life into a semiconductor. The work builds on the growing fields of DNA-based nanomaterials, which could provide low-cost nanoscale device fabrication and the generation of self-assembling electronic circuits. Was Anunnaki here to mine solar gold and human gold energy DNA? And if so, isn't that what they are doing right now? Then we have come full circle. And in the last part, I will talk about Abaddon or Apollyon, who are talking about that. But for now, I have to leave that behind. But remember this. Next slide. These Anunnaki gods, sorry if I'm nagging on both of them, but one important thing is that there are war among them. They are not friends. And the hard divide is between Enlil and Enki line. But we can also see here among them that the number 50 shows up, both in Marduk, Ninurta, and Enlil. And that's the position of Jupiter. And Jupiter, Saturn, there are always war over those planets. And as I told you before, I think it's a stargate. I think it's a gas giant, and maybe Saturn is a mind sun. And if it's a stargate, then they are as important as our sun, depending on where they lead to and what you can do with them. But the war among the Anunnaki is about Jupiter and Saturn. And if Enlil lose his position, then it was Ninurta who was supposed to take his place. And Ninurta is Saturn. And then Ninurta would have the number 50 attached to him instead of Enlil. It means he controlled both Jupiter and Saturn. 2 stargates, 2 suns, if you want to. And the war is over those positions, and Marduk took that from them. Zeus and Enki helped him to do so. But I think Marduk get corrupted because of this materiality, because of his DNA was half human, half divine. And also we see the misconception between Enlil and Marduk here, because both has Jupiter among the energy mental make-up. And I think Zeus is something between Enlil and Marduk. The demiurge. The Christian Gnostic said it is Enlil. And Jesus' father is Enki. So Enki is considered to be the devil. The Christian consider him to be the devil. So you understand the conflict between the Christian Gnostic and the Christians. It was a harsh divide there. Yeah, next slide. This artifact was found not so long ago by Klaus Donna. He didn't found it. They told him that it existed. And it's the pyramid with the eye. And they managed to read the signs. And it says, the son of the creator comes. And the triangle showing Sirius. And it's 6,000 years old. And of course, Sirius is Enki's star, fixed star. So maybe this is a reference to Enki. And an attempt to open the stargates for Enki. For him to come in again. And the eye, of course, is a reference to Marduk or Horus' eye. And that is Enki's son and son, grandson. So the son of the creator comes from here, Sirius, Enki, the dark star, the sun behind the sun, the black sun, or the number 33, the Freemasons' highest number in Royal Ark Freemasonry. Next slide.
All right. Yeah, I love such smart comments when I'm looking at the audience, but I'm so happy that people are throwing the "Are you serious?" joke here and there, because it's been in my head, and I'm like, I'm not going to say it because it's like the oldest joke in occultism, right? Like, right.
This is serious stuff, no jokes.
It's up there with you want to be Illuminati with me, one of those jokes.
Yeah. We're being dogged by that joke.
Of course.
But that's the only tale I'll tell right now.
Okay. Well, Vance, can you handle the slides? I've got an Anunnaki that needs to be let out. I don't know if that one worked. All right. I'll be right back. Take care of the slide, Vance.
Okay.
Yeah, we take the next slide.
Okay. There you go. See?
Yeah, now we come to maybe the most famous story in the Old Testament. And of course, the Tower of Babel. because now, after the flood, the stargates have been closed, broken. The pyramid have been stripped from its technology. The human race have been shut off from the metaphysical, from the divine. And that's, of course, the reason for the flood and the demiurge reason for the flood. And also to drown the Nephilim. And the Nephilim is children from the Watchers. But I will talk more about them next presentation if you want me to continue. For now, there are many reasons for the flood, of course, but one is to shut down the stargates, to close, to hold us back into this material prison, both mentally and with technology. And in Babylon, 2000 BC or 1850 BC, they tried to build a tower, and it was the Mardukites, Marduk's followers, who tried to build this tower, the Tower of Babel, or Etemen-Anki, Temple of Heaven and Earth, to connect heaven and earth again after the flood, after the stargates have been shut off or destroyed. So this Kadingeraki Babylon, Ziggurat of Babylon, Tower of Babel, spheres of Mars and Saturn is the source. You see, Saturn is a stargate, as I said before, and they should try to connect the tower to Saturn or our sun. But the tower was destroyed by Ninurta, and that's the reason why I talked about him, because Ninurta worked for Enlil or the demiurge. Ninurta is Enlil's son and was a supposed heir to Enlil. So Ninurta destroys the tower, and Enlil commanded him to do so. But it was a thunderbolt from Ninurta that destroyed the tower. And this tower was, as I said, an attempt to connect heaven and earth again after the flood, after the destruction of the stargates, the old pyramid structures, the old ziggurats. And also, they have closed off this understanding of stargates from within. But the Mardukites sparked that interest again and then built the tower. But it was destroyed by Ninurta, Enlil's son. Yeah, next slide. Now we come to a very interesting thing Azazel mentioned, and it was about Sargon. And I don't really understand all this. But Sargon, according to Azazel, is the same as Cain in the Old Testament. And also as Moses is the same character. So Moses is Sargon and Sargon is Cain. And this is interesting because if you knew the myth, they both came in a basket down the river. And Azazel said that they have jumbled around with names. They have distorted our history, distorted the timelines, and we cannot trust them. And it's done very deliberately in order for us not to understand what happened or why. So it's not a failure or a mistake. No, it's very deliberate done. And one thing very interesting, if Sargon is Moses, then the timeline is off. Second, they found a clay tablet that stated that Sargon the Great lived 3750 BC and not 2300 BC. And that means that Moses lived 3750 BC and not 1500 BC. And if that is true, then you have to push back Noah's Ark as well, further back in history. Next slide. And Moses went up to Mount Sinai and to collect the 10 commandments. That picture. So look, here is the stupid commandments. Look.
Yeah, who is that?
Anyway, the story goes in the Old Testament, he came down from Mount Sinai with his commandments, and the Jews who followed him was dancing around a bull. And a bull is a sign of Enlil. Enlil is the cosmic bull during this time. And Moses gets pissed off and destroys the bull or the calf. That is to say, we do not worship Enlil. We worship Enki. Next slide. And here you see the timeline, if this is correct, as Azazel said. Then you have Noah approximately 5250 BC. That's quite interesting date, because the oldest agriculture remains in Sumer is 5000 BC.
Mm.
But if anyone want to continue the search for the date and what happened, that's good. It should be done. Maybe we have missed something here. Yeah, next slide. Then, if Moses lived 3750 BC, we are in the age of Taurus. And that's Enlil's age. That's the reason why it's the bull or the calf. So we see here Moses try to change the Enlil reign and usher in an Enki worship under his brother's nose, to change the direction of the Jews or the Enlil faction. And yeah, this is quite in the middle of the Taurus age. No, in the beginning, you could say. Next slide. Yeah, Enlil or Enki is the question, and that the Old Testament is about that, most of it. What god should the Jews worship, Enki or Enlil? Should they go for the bull Enlil, or should they worship Enki? And there are many years in the wilderness or in the desert to decide what god to follow. They escaped from Egypt, and in Egypt, of course, it was Marduk, Amun-Ra that reigned, and they escaped. But even in Egypt, they changed between Enlil and Enki, between the shepherds or the farmers. And it was a war in Egypt between the farmers and the shepherds. And now we can start to understand what they are talking about in the Old Testament. They're talking about farmers, and they're talking about sheep, and they're talking about wild animals. And if you read it with those eyes, it starts to make sense. It's a war between Enki or Enkyists or Enlilites. What God should follow. And behind the bull's neck, you have the fixed star Aldebaran. So in the bullfighting in Spain and Mexico, also they kill the bull by the sword over the bull's neck or head. It's a Marduk ritual thing. Yeah, next slide. And of course, Michelangelo knew a lot of stuff, portrayed Moses with horns, because it's Enki. He knew that Moses worshipped Enki. And the rams, the horned animals, the wild animals with horn are a symbol of Enki, or snakes, or reptiles. So Michelangelo portrayed Moses with horn, his famous statue of Moses. So Michelangelo knew a couple of things, we'll say. Next slide. And this war of the stargates started in Sumer again after the flood, because now they wanted to open the stargates again, of course. Babylon's or Babel's Tower was one, but we can also see it in their clay tablets. And we see this giant with a rune or an ankh. But it's the rune Teresas he's holding, manipulating with the sun. And the rune Teresas mean giant, and the esoteric meaning behind it is a gateway. So this is a giant manipulating with a stargate opening, an Anunnaki god, probably. And we found these runes in the Bosnian pyramid as well, and also pointing towards stargates. So it seems to be a desperate attempt to open Stargate F after the flood. And this is what Azazel is talking about as well. But Azazel is talking about open Stargate from within, because it is your birthright to travel the stars, to go far away, and to discover, and to become more than a human, to rise up. But what you can do from inside, you can do with technology as well. And the famous say is, as above, so below, as within, so without. What you can do mentally, others can do with technology. And if you don't have the spark or the will to do it with a method, you do it with technology. And that's a dangerous game, I think.
Yep.
Because they don't have to be spiritual to do it. They can do it with force technology and force nature to do the bidding. And then all hell can get loose. And maybe that was happening in Atlantis. And I believe it did. The main gods there, Enki, god of magic and technology. Remember that? Belial is not for technology, but he's talking about the human DNA and to become something more. But if you have that mix with technology, you have to have a very good balance. Otherwise, the technology part will take over and it will collapse. And I think we are on the brink of that again. And we will see many things before our bodies will decay this time around. And just to take the seatbelt on, because we are going for a ride.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Next slide. And the Epic of Gilgamesh is about this, because Gilgamesh realized that the Stargate has been closed. Now he seeks eternal life in the story, but if that is what he's seeking, then he's also seeking Stargates. either from within or from without. And from one account, he's facing the bull. And as we talked about earlier, it's Enlil, the cosmic bull, is facing, and the stargate Aldebaran. And his friend's name is Enkidu, or Enki-Du.
Right.
Fight the bull, Enlil, or the cosmic bull. And of course, the scientist doesn't understand the story at all, but they read it with the wrong eyes. But the timing is very interesting. For me, from maybe 4000 BC until the year 0, they search for stargates and they search for desperate for technology in all sorts of means. And I think that's missing in our history. I think we haven't understood that, how important it was. Next slide. One more very interesting connection is, of course, with the moon, because the moon causes our sea level to rise
Right.
and decline. And we see this Enki is also Poseidon and Ptah. Poseidon is a water god. What is the connection with technology and magic? Well, the moon is not that natural as we think. I think there are technology there, and I think they will put a lot of things, structures up there, and probably manipulate our reality through it and our conscious through it. You used to say in esoteric practice, we use the moon to go down into our unconscious, into our dark side, to lift up forgotten memories, oppressed feelings, and lift it up and make it conscious so we can see it, and then we can transform it and stop projecting it towards others. The opposite of the woke movement. We try to take responsibility for our own feelings and not project it against others. But then you have to be brave, and you have to go within and lift it up, make it conscious, make it seen. But this Enki, with technology, water, there is a connection to the moon, I think. And with this technology that is there. And in the Saturn's ring of Saturn, you have technology as well. Norman Berggren have some photos of it. So it seems you will find technology all around our solar system. And these planets also have names from the Anunnaki gods attached to them. Are they saying that they have taken over this planet and send a false signal, energy source, sound against us? Distorted? I don't know. Next slide. And Azazel said that he is in prison in Mimas, one of Saturn's moon. And you have the Azazel sigil, but that is really Saturn's sigil. It's not really his, but there is a connection there. Because he is the spirit of Saturn more. And the seal doesn't look similar, but it's not the exact same sigil. But the seal of Saturn, they used to attribute it to Azazel, but I think it's a little bit off. But Saturn's name is Ninurta, is Enlil's son, attributed to Saturn. So they say Enlil's son Ninurta has captured Azazel and keep him in prison, the demiurge, in order for us not to be able to connect with him. But we can, because of our spark. But they can make it harder for us to do so. And the best way to make us not do so is tell, this is evil. We are the good guys. We are the God in the Testament. We are the Christian God. And these forces are the devil, evil, and it's very dangerous to communicate with them. Well, if you're not prepared, and if you have a wrong intention, then yes, I would say so. There is a certain truth to it. But this journey we have to, it will be very important for us humans to evolve. Or this demiurge prison, technology prison will crush us. And we have to decide what the human should be or are. Next slide. In the next episode, we talk about Lucifer. And what they are saying is this. You are so much more than you can imagine. You are holding yourself back. I gave you the spark, and Zeus put me on the mountain. That's your birthright. This spark is your birthright. When you ignite it, you ignite your DNA, and you turn on the 22 strands of DNA they have turned off, the junk DNA, and you start to transform from within, and you go from lead into gold. And you will find the Philosopher's Stone, and you will overturn this demiurge archons. And their time is over. It's up to us what we want to do. But they will lose. And I wait for you to defeat them. And I'm on your side. And the temple of the money changer will come crashing down. And the table will be turned on them. They are just a bump in the road for your race, for the human race to go over. And then you will have your rightful place in the cosmos. Not imprisoned here in materiality. And I will talk about Prometheus, Lucifer next time, if you want me to. I hope you found it interesting.
We're just getting warmed up. No, this was great. Thank you. And inspirational. Loved it. Good job, David, as always. I do have questions, but I'd rather defer to smarter people. So, Vance and the audience, what questions do you have for David?
Well, let's see. Which one do I pick? Oh, somebody wanted to know, Shanorama. Do we have tombs that we've discovered for anyone on the Sumerian king list? All the, Enki, Enlil, or anybody that's related, Marduk, maybe, do they have tombs that we've discovered?
No, but they found a body, I think it was in Sumer, and it was buried in gold, and it was a giant, so they say. But it was only a picture of it. I don't know if did you see it?
No, I didn't.
I have it downloaded. It was very interesting, and of course people say it was fake. It was fake,
of course.
But I don't know. It was very good, and from my experience, people who make fakes, they used to do bad fakes because it takes time to do it. It takes effort to do good, solid things, and people doesn't have that time or that energy to do crap.
Right.
That's not my experience of human, because humans are very for the most part, very lazy.
Yeah,
And if
you
they
can help.
create stupid shit, it doesn't turn out well for the most part. People can feel there's something off with it. I didn't get it with this one. I thought it was very solid.
Yeah. Okay.
And I can try to mail it to you, or if you're interested, and see what I can do. It's very interesting.
Okay. I was wondering, you were speaking of Sargon and Noah and Cain being, the same person. In other words, in the different cultures. Did Sargon or Noah, were they said to have a mark, like how Cain was said to have the mark of Cain when he was sent out? Is there anything like that for Sargon and or Noah? Because Noah had the horns. That was interesting.
Yeah, the mark of Cain, if I remember it correctly, was the upgrade Cain got. So it was an upgraded human. So you can say, I would say, almost a watcher. Nephilim. The Nephilim was the offspring of the watchers and an already upgraded human with the Enki, the dragon blood. Cain was an upgraded and had a mark of the mark that carried a special bloodline or DNA with him.
I mean, people could recognize him apparently visually, when they came upon him, so they wouldn't kill him. That was the part, right?
Yeah. Also,
so visibly different, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It says they were grand in stature and so on, and it's a very, very interesting story. And also, I want to mention this. This is not only myth for the Watchers or Azazel. What it says, people ask, can they fool you? No, they are more honest than most people are, or they are very straightforward. It's just that you have to understand what they're talking about. Sometimes you're lost because they are speaking in terms you don't understand, and some of them like to speak in terms you have to figure out things for yourself, because that also takes you on a journey to think for yourself and start to unravel things. But they are clear with one thing, and I am also very clear when I state you are so much more than you can imagine. And when you realize it, when you start to work at it, you will rise. And this prison, the demiurge prison, will fall. But they have said and stated it very clear, they will come at you with everything they have now.
Of course.
Because people start to realize that what I am saying is true. You don't have to take everything I said here as fact, but it is true that the human race are going through a tremendous transformation, and they do everything they can to keep us down right now, because that's everything they got against us. When we are done with them, we will not even care about them. That will be like flies. And that is true.
Surely you can't be serious. I had to say that joke.
Not again.
From Airplane. Yes, from Airplane.
We should pause that joke.
Don't call me Shirley.
Yeah.
You're supposed to say, don't call me Shirley.
Hey, our buddy Grandpa wanted to know if Sargon the Great was equivalent to Nimrod from the Bible.
Nimrod. There are a lot of histories about Nimrod and wrong ones. Nimrod is the same as Ninurta. And Ninurta was the son of Enlil and the one who destroyed the Babel Tower. He was not on the side of the Mardukites. Nimrod was an opponent. He was an enemy.
Okay. Let's see, who else do I want to know something? Alana wanted to know, this is kind of a general thing, so, and we have limited time here, but I'll ask this anyway. She wanted you to please define what are transformations required for this time.
Yeah, how to transform.
Yeah, we can talk about it all day, but we need the tools and the rituals, right?
Exactly. That's the very good question.
What about bad jokes? Would that scare off the Archons if we continue the bad jokes?
Yeah, they don't like that, because to have fun and laughter is very important as well. And this should be fun. Don't let them take away your laughter or your... Have fun. They are a joke. Have fun. There are certain methods you can use. And a good start is actually the tarot card. And I'm not talking about divination, but you can use them from 0, the fool, because you are the fool right now. You don't know anything. You don't know anything about you, who you are, who you really are. You think you know who you are, but you don't. And you start with the first card, and that's the magician, right? When you have understood that I am right, you take the fire, the stuff in your hand. You have the water, you have the sword, the reason, logic, because you cannot lose your mind when you do this, because you will only go astray. And then you have the pentagram or the pentacle. And this is material. Don't lose grip on the materiality as well. You have a family, you have a work, you have a body, take care of that. We should have this experience while we are here and take care of materiality as well. We are the conduit between the material and the spiritual. We are both. And there's a reason for that. And Azazel, the watcher, stated that you are more powerful than I am, because I have no physical body. You are both a physical body and you have the spirit that can become as mighty as I am. But I cannot have your material body. So we are here working with our body, striving for the metaphysical, striving for the spiritual. And you need to have balance over these 4 elements: the pentagram, the earth, the materiality, the sword, your thinking, don't lose your mind. Water, your feelings. It's very good sometimes to just feel and experience, relax, and be in the unconscious. Sometimes our brain just nagging on. We have too much sword. We need feeling, intuitivity, creativity, water as well. And we need fire, willpower, sheer willpower. If you want to do this journey, you have to have force, and you have to decide, this is what I want to do, and push yourself. This is the first card. Then you go through this card, and every card have a good lesson to teach you about this path, in order to prepare you for a kind of archetypes, hang-ups all humans have. Because sometimes you will say, am I the only one who feels like this? No, everybody goes through these states a little bit different way. But this is a good start. And then you can continue on with like the left-hand path. And you can use sigils, and you can learn how to go over to the cliphotic tree and feel the force of the other side, or the darkness. And this darkness is potentiality in making. Everything out there we have imagined, but what we haven't imagined that yet cannot take physical form. In the blackness of it all, there lies new visions of who we are. First we have to visualize what we can be, and then we have to walk it and transform it and make it real. But you cannot make anything real, you cannot visualize. And in the darkness, there is the unvisualized potentiality of humanity in becoming.
Okay. Miguel, we have time for a few more questions.
One more question.
One more. Oh, put me on the spot. Which one do I pick? Which one do I pick? Because I got like 5 more questions here.
Yeah, as always, there's no guarantees unless you super chat it.
Yeah, I'm going to roll the dice and say Dragon's Guardian of the Crystal Hearts, who was active in the chat a while ago. He says, and he shares this in common with you, I think, Azazel told me, I guess he listens to Azazel, that Solomon tricked them into building the first temple. So what do you have to tell us about that subject, about the demons, quote unquote, being tricked by Solomon to building the temple?
Yeah, there is interesting things with Solomon's temple for sure. And Solomon's temple is connected to the black sun. So now we are talking about temple and technology. And another thing very interesting is that the Jews took the Ark of the Covenant with them to Solomon's temple from Egypt. And I think the Ark of the Covenant was a technology used in the pyramids for a stargate. And I'm going to talk about this more in the next part, but I think to remove solar energy force, you use technology, the pyramids, and the black sun is the sun behind the sun. So if you want to take solar energy from us or our sun, you will do it and send it to Sirius, the black sun, the sun behind the sun. And I think we have the Freemasons' obsession with Solomon's temple and the second temple, and they want to rebuild a third temple. And I think they want to open the Stargate with technology, and maybe in the long run, you will also have an agenda to transform or transport solar energy from one star to another. But that's a little bit speculation, of course, but it's to connect stargates. Solomon's temple connects stargates. Are you with me, Vance?
Yeah, it's kind of like a network, right? Network of...
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
And I think with Solomon's temple, you have the second temple, and this is very interesting, and the connection to Babylon. The second temple was called Babel, or from Babylon, and it was founded by Cyrus the Great, who entered Babylon through the Mardukite priest class, because the Marduk priest class didn't like that Nanasin's priest class had taken over after Nebuchadnezzar the second's death. So they let Cyrus the Great in because they have lost their power. And Cyrus the Great was a Mardukite. Some say Mithra, maybe. But when he was approaching Babylon, he sent the clay tablets claiming he was a Mardukite. Maybe it was just a propaganda piece, I don't know. But the second temple in Jerusalem was Zerubbabel from Babylon, founded with Babylonian money.
Wonderful. Well, there's some other good questions. Save them for next time for David as we go through history and go deeper into this. And yeah, we certainly look forward to finding about Lucifer and Prometheus, and we'll continue with this series. For the audience, I really appreciate, again, always good questions, smart ideas there in the chats. Everything was awesome. And as always, please support this show if you can, in any way you can, so we can continue bringing you this content. It can be as simple as going to Patreon and pledging $3 a month or something. to simple as that, to help the show continue, and these amazing guests that bring so much gnosis in these dark times. But yeah, we are officially at the end. Vance, thanks for keeping us company.
Oh, my pleasure. It was very engaging. Very engaging. Love to see all these different systems throughout the ages being integrated and tied together.
Thank you for having me on, Miguel, and thank you, Vance.
No, it was great. And yeah, David, thank you. And we shall talk sooner rather than later. For everybody else, for everybody here, have a great weekend. And as I say, write your own gospel and live your own myth and tell your own bad jokes. So take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.